have the great pleasure of introducing y'all to Anton Anderson. He has become quite the collaborator, supporter, and influencer in the space of tax advisory. His background is actually financial advisory. So he began his career in 2003 with Smith Barney while studying business in college, and he graduated from the University of California, Santa Barbara, in top 3% of his class. You know, I've said this before and I forgot about that part. That's so cool, Anton.
You forgot that I wasn't just a surfer. I actually had a little bit of
Yeah,
something
I
up
know,
there.
right? He's such a
Yeah.
beach bum.
Like, oh, look
So
at that.
in 2008, he co-founded SPL Financial, which grew into a pretty big practice before selling in 2014 to start what he now runs as called the Elite Resource Team. Recognized as one of the top training companies for financial advisors and accountants, Elite Resource Team has thousands of clients across North America. Anton has developed a diverse career as an investor, advisor, CPA consultant. He also has an Amazon #1 best-selling book in both accounting and financial services, and a second book that just came out this week in regards to how accountants and financial advisors can work together. Highly recommend it. So, Anton, welcome. We've got an amazing panel today. I'll let you introduce them and go from there.
Very good. Thank you so much. So a couple thoughts that come up as I hear you do the intro here. Right before you started my intro, you said 1,500 people registered, which is exciting. Jackie and Dave and the rest of the team at TaxPlanIQ, congratulations. That's such an accomplishment. And it really, I think, goes to show just collectively what everybody here is working towards and interested in is a time an idea whose time has come. Like, I'm so excited to be a part of this group here, to be a part of the other panel members. And as I waited for my intro, I scanned through the participants and I see dozens of names I recognize. So if we know each other, type a hi into the chat box for me. It kind of helps roll a little bit here that I recognize a lot of names and faces and such. So welcome. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Appreciate that. Jackie, thank you for 2 introductions and forwards to our book. We have currently a #1 and a #2 bestseller book that came out a couple days ago. We just haven't quite cracked the #1 bestseller on the second book, but perhaps we will get there. So with that said, Jackie, can I share my screen? I wanted to kind of frame out the discussion today a little bit
For
with
sure.
this. So the title that was used of the presentation is The Golden Partnership: How Accountants and Financial Advisors Create Tremendous Value Working Together. And I know as soon as we talk about advisors and accountants working together, 98% of the brains on go, oh, we're going to talk about referral relationships. So I want to try to break this pattern recognition right away and say, no, we're not talking about referral relationships. We're not talking about ways that advisors can send referrals to accountants and accountants can send referrals to advisors. And we're not talking about the outdated mindset that advisors have that they're just trying to get into the accountant's business and sell products. Like, our industry has done a very good job at making that the default thinking when we hear about accountants and advisors working together. And it is our mission to break that mindset. Okay, and how are we attempting to do that? Well, about 14 years ago, I was lucky enough as an advisor to form some really good accountant partnerships. And it just organically formed into more of a retainer partnership where almost I was going into their offices and talking about anything that their clients needed, not just financial planning. And eventually it formed into more of a multifamily office in San Diego County. I sold that practice, as Jackie said, and started Elite Resource Team over 10 years ago. And what we really realized from the feedback from both the advisors and the accountants is we are sick of working in our own individual silos and just trying to serve our clients as if the only thing they need is financial planning or insurance or tax returns or payroll, bookkeeping, etc. Like, think about the mass affluent, the high income earners, the successful business owners. They need much more than just the traditional slices of pizza. that our 2 industries represent. So that's really where this team-based approach comes from. And it is a combination of two important factors. And that's why we have both Alan and Sterling on with us for this panel today. It's a combination of a partnership between an accountant and an advisor, both of which are specially trained to do forward-looking planning, right? Not just looking to trade referrals back and forth, but to do forward-looking planning. And then they are backed by a virtual family office. So anytime something comes up outside of the accountant's area of expertise or the advisor's area of expertise, they have over 75 specialists within a virtual family office. And those specialists all serve in 5 core areas. So it's tax planning, which obviously this discussion today is centered on, and Jackie did a great job going over some of the tax planning ideas, but we also would include high-end tax planning attorneys and cost segregation specialists and R&D specialists and on and on. You have risk mitigation, which could be captive insurance, P&C insurance, annuities, life insurance. You have wealth management, which could be the 401ks, cash balance plans, 403bs, crypto, real estate. You have legal services, so a team of attorneys that could help with trusts, wills, buy-sell agreements, all operating agreements, all that good stuff. And then finally, you have business advisory services. So you have forward-looking business consultants that are helping with things like measuring KPIs, company culture, leadership style. Where is this business going? Are we looking to sell, take it public, etc.? So a virtual family office that specializes in those 5 areas back or support a partnership between a forward-looking advisor and a forward-looking accountant that are coming together to truly offer a unique value proposition to their clients. So again, very different from a trading referrals type of relationship. And I would say very much what our joint clients are looking for, especially our really good clients with a lot of moving pieces. So that's my frame out to the panel discussion today. And I have 2 individuals on with me, as Jackie referenced. One is Sterling Hirsch, who I've known for probably 6 or 7 years at this point. He represents the financial advisor on the team. He runs a family office called Collective Family Office, who are doing a great job at just really understanding the need of the marketplace today and bringing them more proactive and holistic planning. And Sterling connected with Alan Barber, who's the CPA, Alan C. Barber and Associates, who likewise is really understanding that the majority of the accountants and the CPAs out there are too stuck in the backwards-looking compliance-based services. TaxPlanIQ is doing a great job within the tax planning niche to bring more forward-looking services, and there's still those other areas. So with that said, what I think is the most valuable use of time, rather than me just running my mouth, is to actually invite these 2 with us to share a little bit about, maybe first do a brief introduction, if you guys don't mind. Let us know where you're sitting, kind of what drew you to this model originally, and then I've got half a dozen questions that I'll pepper you with, and then I would encourage the attendees to keep the questions flowing as we're on, and we'll integrate those into today's conversation. So Alan, why don't I start with you? I'll go alphabetical here. Alan, I'll start with you. If you could just tell us a little bit about your background, where you sit today, and what kind of originally attracted you to this opportunity, and then we'll jump to Sterling from there.
Absolutely. Thanks, Anton. Yes, I'm Alan Barber. I'm your typical CPA. I've been in the business over 30 years, both in public accounting and private accounting. Have always had an interest in financial planning subjects, but have never been able to really truly deliver what I was being taught in all the CPE classes and the tax curriculums that I was going through. I have a firm in right now I'm sitting in Hendersonville, North Carolina, halfway between Asheville, North Carolina, and Greenville, South Carolina. But I also have clients in Atlanta, where I was born and raised. But it was last year about this time that I connected with a planner here in my area who knew Anton and knew of the elite resource team group, and unfortunately, that planner passed away. But I was still planning on going to the June conference in San Diego, and so I went ahead and went to San Diego and met with the elite resource team and met Sterling. And what Elite has done for me is again, I always knew about these tax planning concepts, the retirement planning that I could do for clients, and or other financial questions that I might receive. I had the knowledge, but no way to deliver it. And so what I found with Elite Resource and Collective VFO is a way to deliver these concepts to clients to save them money, basically, and also a way to shepherd my clients through the process of not only financial planning but other financial subjects in a way that's pretty seamless, but it's a structured process that Elite has brought together along with with Collective VFO and Sterling. So it's been a great partnership for me and for my client base, and we're just beginning to roll that out this year after tax season in a big way. And I think that it's something new for my legacy clients, and we're bringing new clients in as we move through the process. So so we're very glad to be here with and partnering with Elite Resource and with Collective VFO.
Love it. Appreciate it. Yeah, really good intro. I've thought about 3 or 4 questions for you just on the last 2 minutes, but I'll come back to you in a second. Sterling, if you don't mind introducing yourself.
Sure, but I want to clarify one thing, and that is that Alan Barber is not your typical CPA.
I was going to say.
I'm going to call you out on that, buddy, because his approach and the transition we're going through is really just above and beyond the traditional CPA firm. So that's what this is all about. And so, but my name is Sterling Hirsch. I really appreciate the opportunity to join you guys. Thanks, Anton, for allowing us here. Jackie, what a privilege to be able to join you and to be a part of such a revolutionary process, and what TaxPlanIQ is doing is amazing. So I've been a financial advisor since 2004, 2005. I've gone through a lot of different changes. I owned pest control companies, sold those, bought a practice in the financial services business back in 2008. Struggled in this industry though, because I had partnerships in my pest control company where we had a lot of success working together as a team, very complementary partnerships. And then struggled though with the commission-driven mentality of financial services, and also kind of the hierarchy where people want to earn money off of your production. And so I struggled with finding, true partnerships in this business. And then had some ups and downs. And when I found this model, and Anton said we've known each other for about 6 years, I think, I was blown away at the idea and the concept of this model of being able to be more proactive and holistic, and learning how to build more strategic partnerships. And I'll tell you, fast forward 6 years, this has been such an amazing journey, learning how to work with guys like Alan and really help us to build not just value to our clients, but learning how to build more enterprise value to our firms. And I actually don't, I don't even like actually, the fact that I have FA on my name on this presentation, actually, because it's an evolutionary process. And what I'm finding is that I don't actually want to be a financial advisor. In fact, I have strategic advisory partners that are coming in on my on my wealth management company that's separate from Collective VFO, just to handle the financial advisory part of the virtual family office, if that is in fact what the client's needs are, or priorities for that matter. So Collective VFO was established for the purpose of being able to separate ourselves away from that picture that clients paint regarding who I am and what we can do as a family office on behalf of the real true needs and opportunities of the client. And it's super powerful. And I'm just so thrilled about what we're doing in this space.
Yeah, I love it. I think that's spot on, and what you're referring to is kind of what I opened with, trying to break the association that immediately 430 or 50 or however many people are on will have of, oh, financial advisor, accountant, referral relationships, sell product, etc. You guys are doing, and you know, collectively everybody here to one degree or another are doing something that's so unique. I love the idea of backing out of the titles and just focusing on the value for the client. So maybe, and Alan, I'll bounce back to you on this one. We'll get to the TaxPlanIQ in a moment with how that fits into your partnership in the virtual family office. But can you elaborate, Alan, on how the two of you working together is different than a traditional referral relationship? Because you opened saying you've been in business for 30 years. So I'm guessing it's not, 30 years have gone by and you've never had a financial advisor that you've referred business to, or you already have you've gotten business from. So how is this different?
Well, I'm not sure of others' experience, but my experience has always been that if a client asked me for a referral for investments or estate planning or other financial issues, insurance, I would give them maybe a couple names, a couple of phone numbers, and I send them on their way.
Sure.
And they come back later. A lot of times, I mean, I may have talked to them in June, and then I haven't seen them again until February, and they're like, oh, well, I ask them, well, how'd that turn out? And what they tell me is like, well, wait a minute, that's not anything of like what we talked about. And so that's something that is something that, again, I mentioned about shepherding the process. Some people might say controlling the process. What the virtual
Alan, let me interrupt you real quick, because I'm curious, as you say that, has anybody else on had that experience where, or do that currently maybe, where you have a client that asks for some type of advice? I have investments, mom passed away, we've got 500 at Vanguard, whatever it is, I'm selling an asset, and you've given names and phone numbers to multiple people as a referral, and then you're kind of waiting for that to happen, hopefully behind the scenes, and something comes back that's different than what you expected? Yes, all the time. Okay, and I'm getting some thumbs up. So that resonates, I think, with probably the way that most of us have been taught to handle those types of requests from clients. Okay.
Right. And so what this does, what the elite resource team and Collective VFO do for me is, again, I'm able to shepherd the process. I'm not controlling everything, but there's a structure behind the recommendation that I might make, and there's follow-up, and we have appointments where we don't even talk about product in the very beginning. Sterling takes us through a step-by-step process of finding out what that client needs first, and then that guides us as to how best to serve that client. Ian Willem, who is one of your partners, Anton, we had a meeting with him a couple weeks ago, and he said, assume nothing about your client base, because our process, the elite process, is going to uncover things that I probably didn't even know about. I mean, I've been serving these folks for 2 or 3 years or longer, and I didn't know that. I mean, I didn't know this was a concern of theirs, but that's the process, and we take them through the process before we even talk about product. That's the whole thing meeting clients' needs. Number one, that's the number one objective of
Yes.
what we do in a structured manner, because we follow up. We say we finish up one appointment, and we say, okay, when's our next appointment? When are you available? Can we set that appointment right now? And so it's very intentional, very structured.
And so when you say we, and you're kind of using the team language, and Sterling
Right.
and his team is either part of that or as you said, leading that and controlling
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So totally different than here are 3 names and phone numbers. Good luck. I'll
Right.
see you in June, and hopefully you
Right.
followed through on what I told you in February.
Exactly.
So if I'm hearing you right, you had clients that had the need. You had some knowledge, but not enough to actually be the specialist that's going to execute on that need.
Right.
And so
Right.
the partnership has allowed you to kind of execute on a higher level, whether.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So Sterling, from your perspective, how is the Golden Partnership, as the title of this was discussed, how is this different than the traditional referral relationship, that you've seen or experienced?
Well, I think one thing that I'd like to elaborate on is what Alan said about the client's needs. And that being that the client in the referral model has come to the CPA and said, hey, I need X, Y, or Z. The CPA says, okay, hey, I've got so-and-so, and maybe there's a really good relationship with so-and-so. I mean, maybe they have trust in that person and they really, respect them and they do good work. Maybe they don't, and there's a lack of real trust, and we don't even know what the results are going to be, like Alan said. But I think the real difference here is not just the difference is the client doesn't really always know what they need. That's the biggest problem, and I'll illustrate that with a meeting that Alan and I were just on the other day. We had a client scenario come to us, and they had a large gain last year. Alan just started working with them this year. The client, they're paying, I don't know, $600,000 in tax, I believe, right? Or not, maybe it was 300,000. It was a large amount, and there was not a whole lot we could do backwards in this case. There are some things we can do to go and implement strategies that could offset some of that liability, and we actually are working on that for them. But they think they need one thing they don't really know. But our conversation as a team, when we have a multidisciplinary lens and we are talking to this client, it completely changed their perspective and understanding of what their opportunities really are. They didn't even know, had no clue what they could do. And that was because we were able to take them through this educational process of really going into their situation. I call what Alan said, I call uncovering all stones through these different lenses that give us understanding and perspective beyond the traditional advisory relationships. And it's night and day. There's no way that a client could have this experience without different perspectives looking at their situation in a team-based approach. So it's so powerful. And so then we were able to go to the next step, and that is helping them understand the value that we can deliver through this process. But that value is not just about their needs. It's about us helping them say, here are the needs, but now let's prioritize them. Yeah, we can't do everything at once, but let's say, number 1 down to 6 or whatever amount of needs there are. Let's have the client direct the focus, and that's where we're gonna focus. It's not even about what Alan said is product. It's about priority, and that's what drives focus here.
I think that's really powerful, and I'll share a question that I've had multiple CPAs tell me they use. And so if you're on right now, this is a good one to write down, which is really going towards what Alan and Sterling are both speaking to. If you're working with a new potential client or new client, and you want to highlight the difference between what you can do compared to what they do, if you're really buying into using TaxPlanIQ for you to be able to offer the tax planning and then finding a team to offer this type of virtual family office experience, you can ask them, when was the last time your CPA, advisor, attorney, insurance agent, and any other trusted professional all sat down at the same table, either in person or virtually, to proactively talk about how to make sure that your financial landscape is in the best place possible. I've never had a single high income earner, successful business owner, mass affluent client ever say, oh yeah, it was last month. No, like unless you're $3 billion net worth and you're spending 10 million a year for your true family office, unless you're working in that type of an arrangement or this type of partnership with Stray and Allen, clients are not receiving that. Right? If you say, when was the last time your CPA, your advisor, your insurance agent, your attorney all sat down and proactively talked on your behalf? Most go, that's never happened. What? Like maybe they cooperate once a year to compare notes, but never that type of collaboration. So, I think what you guys are touching on here is so powerful for the client. So maybe let's talk now, since we are focusing on the TaxPlanIQ. Speak to me a little bit about how learning about TaxPlanIQ and using it as a tool, how has that opened your mindset? How has that impacted your relationship, or what you're offering with the virtual family office? And I'll leave it open to whoever wants to jump on that one first.
I think TaxPlanIQ. Well, I know TaxPlanIQ is is an incredible tool. It surprises me every time I use it, in that it uncovers so many things. They're the normal things that I think about when I'm dealing with a business client: set plan, single 401k, whatever it might be. But what TaxPlanIQ does, it uncovers even more. And I said, well, I didn't think about that, but this might be something that the client might be interested in. And it just it helps in client. I mean, it helps in client meetings to bring that wow factor, and the client just says, well, I never thought about that. Well, how does the client ask, bring this down to a tax savings number? We've got it. You do this, you plug this in, implement this, it gives you the tax savings, and then tax savings over time. So it's incredibly powerful.
Love it. And then Alan, just help everybody understand then. So if you're using TaxPlanIQ and it's helping you drive down and really communicate the savings, how is the virtual family office and the partnership between you and Sterling, where does that fit into, your value proposition?
Well,
how do those two fit together?
That's just one piece of the puzzle, really. I mean, I'm a typical CPA. I mean, or in tax, I want to know what the bottom line is right now. Sterling sometimes has to help me pump the brakes and say, hold on a second, we need to look at the entire picture. So that's where he helps me to say, well, I know that's your focus, Alan, but there are other things that we need to look at and to address. And we don't, we want to make sure that those needs are addressed by the client, and that helps in short term and long term to keep that client in our client list. Because if you're saving that kind of money, for a client, it really, I mean, they aren't going to go anywhere because there's no other place that they can get what we're offering.
Love it. I love it. So you're really nailing down on the tax planning side. The TaxPlanIQ has been incredibly helpful with you being very specific with the clients in terms of what the value is you can bring them. And then if I understand you correctly with what you're saying, the proactive planning team, which is you and Sterling, and backed by a few other team members that are helping everything stay organized. While you're working with these clients, you're uncovering additional needs, and that virtual family office is just giving you the confidence to go, okay, if something comes up outside of tax planning, I still know we can handle it because of all of these other specialists.
Right. And I've been very impressed with the elite resource team we work as a team. If you have an answer, I mean, I'll drop in a question on our school page. And I mean, I can get an answer within 24, 48 hours, or a place to, plug in, someone to ask, hey, it's extremely collaborative and open between the members. And that's encouraging too.
Sterling, I see you shaking your head there, and I'll pause because I would love to know. I've received a couple questions, but I'm happy to integrate any other questions that come up about the partnership or how they're working together. So feel free to keep those coming. Sterling, what were you thinking as you were kind of shaking your head with what Alan was sharing?
Yeah, this I'd like to add to that. The TaxPlanIQ is game changing. The idea of charging for value is actually, it's a difficult transition for any advisor. I struggled with it for years, and as a financial advisor, I had to go through a transition of charging a fee for planning, right? Instead of a commission-driven type of transaction, and I started learning how to do that, charge for that value. That was a transition for me, and that happened several years ago. But then we just in the last year, you guys, this whole evolution of this ROI method and being able to charge for a tax planning fee, it's game changing, and it's really it's a work in process. I love what we're doing here. I love what Jackie's talking about today. Helping us define the value is critical, and us all kind of getting on the same page in regard to how to do that. And then as we engage with a client, we help them see the value of this team working in unison. That's one thing we call it. We call it an engagement agreement, or a proactive planning service that we provide. And we might charge that on a monthly basis, where maybe it's $300 a month for one or two priorities that the client has. Maybe there's 4 to 6 priorities. We charge them maybe $500 a month. Maybe there's more, and we charge the client more just for us to engage as a team. But then there's implementation. And the implementation part of this process is where we might have a client that has not just tax planning needs, where we charge to implement that based on value. Maybe it's business advisory. It might be risk mitigation. It could be legacy planning, wealth management, whatever it is. Implementation is where the partnership, the golden handshake that Alan Anton's referring to, is where it's not just a software program that we got to dig into, because that can be really overwhelming. It's incredible, but how do we implement? This is the key. We've got to learn how to implement these things. It can be extremely overwhelming. Wow, there's all these things we're trying to learn. How do we implement? Because it can be very tough. That's where, as a team, we're able to drive the actual implementation and follow up in this process.
Now, I think that's a good point to really drive home, because the software is incredible, and selling a tax plan and charging for value, I think, is really a great game shifting mindset. And at the same time, as you said, Sterling, if someone's not implementing and following through, it's a short-lived victory. Clients ultimately aren't going to get the value they're expecting, and I think the whole thing kind of gets a little wobbly. So implementing is absolutely key. Maybe on that note, can you guys speak to how your business has been impacted by everything we've been talking about here today?
Alan?
Oh. Yeah, I can go first. Yeah, I've really come across with a lot of clients that say, well, I had purchased this firm here in North Carolina from a practitioner several years ago, and she and her husband were incredible technical CPAs. They knew their stuff, but they never really thought outside of the compliance agent mentality. And so it's been an educational process with my clients saying, yeah, you have that balance, but there's something we can do about it. And they're like, oh, really? Yes, there is. And so that's been very very enjoyable to be able to bring them a solution to a problem that they might have, which is, you know, a tax balance that they may not have expected, and we have a solution for them. That's you know, and we're bringing value, and that brings credible satisfaction to me as a practitioner, that I finally have a way to do it. And I finally have a way to, you know, truly help, because most of us as CPAs and enrolled agents, we want to help people. We want to bring that number down as low as we can. Well, this supercharges it, and brings these concepts to the fore, and clients are just lapping it up. They love it.
Tell me more about that last part before I go to Sterling. I just am intrigued the feedback you are getting when you say they're lapping it up and loving it. Is it resonating to your clients? It
is, and sometimes I have to do it. You know, people sometimes they can't really believe it, and because they say, well, the prior accountant, I mean, they never even, you know, that they never even talked about these kinds of things. Well, like I said, I'm not gonna, you know, belittle them. I mean, they did great work, but what I say is that things have changed in our business as CPAs, in that we have a different mindset now. It's not enough. It's not enough for us just to be great in compliance. Sure, we've got to be right on it. We've got to be great in compliance. That's a foundational concept with us, and we're going to do that. But for instance, client, I'm going to have to see you. I'm going to have to see you in September or October. You know, I mean, I want to see you more than less. Yeah. I know. so that I can implement these new concepts for you.
Absolutely. And Paul Latham, an accountant who's at ERT, one of my partners, has this saying, which is, I can't be proactive just by looking at you. I can't tell what you need just by reading your mind. We need to be meeting to be proactive. Value is absolutely there, worth the time. Right. I think we have 2 more minutes. So Sterling, I'm going to come to you, and then Alan, I'll bounce back to you one last time for any last thoughts. I did want to offer, and Jenna, I know you're on the line, so maybe you can share, but I would be happy for anybody that's on, because I really view all of us on this mission together to push our industries in a more proactive, a more holistic direction. If you'd like a free copy of our book that just came out 2 days ago, The Art of Proactivity, the journey from a compliance-based accountant to a virtual family office professional, if you'd like a copy of that, we'll drop a link into the chat right now, and you can go to it, and we'll give you a free digital copy of that. And would love any feedback that you have as you read that. Sterling, let me bounce to you. I think we got about 1 more minute, so would love just any kind of final thoughts that are coming up as the questions we've talked about today.
Yeah. So you know, we as practitioners, and I think a lot of us have felt this way. Maybe some of us have evolved beyond this, but many of us are solo practitioners, and I've been a solo practitioner over the years, and oftentimes I've felt like I'm on an island by myself. And there's this great distance from this island to the shore where these collaborative partners we're supposed to be bridging a gap, and I've struggled with that over the years. I've never been more thrilled and excited about my business and the way that I am collaborating. The strategic partners I'm working with, you know, guys like Alan, other accounting partners, other advisory partners, other virtual family office experts that have been able to bring extraordinary value. We haven't talked about case studies. I mean, what we've done for saving $2 million in tax for one client last year, just legacy planning. I mean, business advisory. This is fun. I'm having fun. And my revenues, doubled on average, and probably triple, quadruple this year. It's incredible. So I mean, it's that issue that I had in regard to strategic partnerships, we've solved that. It's fun.
Having fun making money, nothing better, John says. Yeah, man, I couldn't agree more. Congrats as well, Sterling. That's exciting. And Alan, I'll leave it to you for any last thoughts before we transition back to Jackie.
Right, just Elite Resource Group and TaxPlanIQ. They get us as CPAs out of that compliance agent mentality, and give structure to if we ever wanted to do a great job for our clients, just an incredible, a whole lot more for our clients than what we do. The Elite gives us the structure, and the connections from the get-go that we need to really make this tax advisory concept work. And it is a whole lot more fun telling a client that you can do something about $100,000 or $2 million tax balance instead of just giving them the return and say, sign here.
Write the check. Yeah.
Yeah, write the check.
No, write the
A whole
check.
lot
Yeah.
more fun.
Well, I appreciate that feedback and both of you guys sharing and being willing to be here. And Jackie, again, I can't congratulate you enough on what you built, and be more excited for the collaborative partnership that TaxPlanIQ and ERT have formed. And just if there's anything we can do for anybody on where you feel like you want to be part of a bigger community, and find other professionals, we are here to help you collaborate and support you and your journey with TaxPlanIQ as best as possible.